Now a new generation
might be as great as that, because Skip Bertman and Ron Frazier have known each other for over 25 years. Skip Bertman was with the Miami Hurricanes for a total of 8 years. And Skip, we're going to start off with you tonight. And congratulations on making it to the College World Series. You had to go into College Station and defeat the #1 team in the nation twice in the same day, and you did it. That tells me that your ball club's on some kind of roll.
Thanks, Ron. We played real well in a tough situation, and Texas A&M is a great team, and we're very fortunate to be here.
Skip, Jim Cott here. You know, it's more than just a relationship between two baseball coaches. You go back to Miami as a high school coach, assistant under Ron Frazier. This got to be kind of a kick, meeting up with your mentor in Omaha.
It's true. He's my mentor. He gave me the lineup for tonight. He did say to leave McDonald, hold him back for a while, but I don't know if I can do that one.
Ron Frazier, you have been at the Miami Hurricanes head spot down there for heading into a 3rd decade. I'm going to roll some video right here and ask you, during the regional, you promised your ball club that if they won the regional, you would get a haircut like them. And here you are getting your wild thing, I guess is what it would be called. You know, in 1985, the media labeled your team as the happiest team in America. One scribe this year suggested maybe this team should be called the wackiest team in America. Are they loose as usual?
Well, they're a pretty loose ball club, Ron, and, you know, that's the way you want to come in here. I think that, you know, playing here and all the media and the hype and for this thing, and it keeps getting more and more every year, it's easy for the kids to get up pretty tight, and they are just college kids. You try to keep them as loose as possible. I don't remember making that promise about the bolt cut in my head, but I guess I did, and I went along with it.
Ron, Jim Cott here. Let's talk baseball for a moment. Ben McDonald's had some problems in the early innings. Have you met with your ball club and your hitters and talked about a way to approach this guy who sometimes can be unhittable?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to do that. The guy really throws hard. He's a great competitor and a great athlete. And, you know, our job is just to try and make contact and make things happen. You know, you're not going to blow a guy out of there of his stature. So we're just trying to put the ball in play, make contact.
Ron Frazier, Skip Bertman, thanks so very much for coming by to visit with us just before the first pitch tonight. Gentlemen, best of luck tonight and throughout the College World Series.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Jim.
So stand by. 2 of the best in the nation. The #3 seed Miami Hurricanes taking on #6, the LSU Tigers. Coming up next.
That's him, isn't it?
You bet it is.
He's good.
I just love the way he parties. Do you know why Spud McKenzie has so much fun at parties? Because he's always in control. And he knows how to make a party laugh. It takes good sense to have a good time. And Spud knows it's cool to live by one simple rule. Know when to say when.
A reminder from Anheuser-Busch. Before you take a single picture, before you press the shutter, before you autofocus, before you operate the fully motorized extended range zoom lens, before you place it next to your eye, before you even touch it, you're going to want to own it. The incredible 35mm Infinity Super Zoom 300 from Olympus.
The pros have a nickname for their favorite glove. They call it the A2. For more than 30 years, the Wilson A2000 has set the standards in a league where performance is the measure of the man and the glove. A2000.
Skip Bertman, he's in his 6th year there and his 2nd trip to the College World Series. Leading off and playing second, Tookie Johnson. Good speed, played very well at second base this year. In the #2 spot, his shortstop Keith Osick has raised his batting average over 100 points this year. The designated hitter is Wes Grisham. He'll bat third. His nickname is Popeye, and you'll see why. In the cleanup spot, right fielder Craig Calla. Clutch hits all year long for the Tigers. In the #5 hole is left fielder Matt Groover, hitting .339 on the year. Behind the plate is Mike Bianco. He'll bat 6th, a switch hitter, a team co-captain. In the #7 spot is third baseman Phil Espinoza, good situation hitter. In the number 8 hole is center fielder Ron Lim, best base stealer on the club. And in the number 9 spot is first baseman Pete Bush, the finest defensive player on the LSU infield.
And for the Hurricanes on defense in right field, Ray Noriega. John Vieira, he can cover some ground in center. Will Vespi is over in left. On the infield, Kirk Doolan's at third. F.P. Santangelo at short. Jose Trujillo with a strong arm at second. And Henry Hernandez is at first. Behind the plate, Chris Hirsch. And on the mound, senior right-hander Joe Gray. And he's got some numbers, Skip. All the hype is toward Ben McDonald, deservedly so. But senior right-hander Joe Gray, 14 wins this year, 33 in his career for Miami. And I think he's got a little fire in his eyes tonight. He was drafted last year in the 5th round. Thought he'd go a little higher. Put together a good year. You're looking at it right there. And he could get a lot of ground ball outs. He does what you'd like to see every young pitcher do. He works fast. He throws strikes. He keeps the ball down. He stays ahead of hitters. And that's why he's 14-4.
Jim, I'm going to get you to talk more about the situation with Gray in just a moment. Let's check the weather. Last night, a couple of inches of rain in the Omaha area. Only a 10% chance tonight, and very, very comfortable. In fact, a great evening for baseball. 75 degrees, partly cloudy. The wind, not a factor this evening. In fact, the flag out in straightaway center is limp right now. The umpires for this evening's ball game behind the plate will be Gus Steiner. Bruce Raban is at first base. Dale Williams is at second, and Ron Graham is at third. Well, we're just about ready to get this one underway. And the base coaches, Ray Smoke Laval is at third. Jim Wells is at first base for the LSU Tigers. On the hill, Joe Gray for the Miami Hurricanes. And the first pitch is a ball just outside. You know, Jim, it might take a little of the pressure off of him, being first game of the College World Series with all the focus on McDonald.
No question about it. He's the most relaxed pitcher of the two in tonight's ball game.
Steiner says that one just up and out of the strike zone for ball 2. Going to put the Jugs gun right off the top here on Gray and see how quickly he's throwing.
And that 90-mile-an-hour fastball right there might be the reason Joe Gray has fallen behind 3-0. What he's got to try to do tonight, don't get in a speed gun contest with Ben McDonald. His strength is a moving fastball, not a power fastball.
He's pitching individually to LSU, not against Ben McDonald.
Exactly. Ideal compact motion, Joe Gray. You see the nice hip turn right there. Now watch that front leg. Always important. It's going to go straight toward the hitter, kind of land on the toe, and good extension with the throwing arm.
3-1 the count to the lead batter here in this second game of the night, game number 4. Gus Steiner says ring it up for strike number 2, and the count goes full.
You know, and I call Joe Gray a sinker ball pitcher. I've seen him pitch 4 or 5 times, and he tends to think that I mean he's a junk ball pitcher and off speed. By no means. He's got an outstanding fastball, but to be effective, he's got to have movement on it. It's a lot of ground balls on that sinking fastball.
Gets one right there. Chopper. It will be Gray himself. Tosses over to first, and Henry Hernandez records the first out of the game. 1-3. The dimensions in Omaha, in case you're not familiar with it, if you pull it right down the line, you got a decent shot at getting it out, but it drops off in a hurry. The power alley's at 370, and then the straightaway center, 420 feet. And tonight there is no aid. Actually, you don't have anything hindering you, as the left-handers did last night, though, where it was a pretty good poke to get it out of here because of the wind blowing against the left-hander.
Well, we couldn't ask for a better matchup amongst pitchers, better conditions weather-wise for these two ball clubs. Both clubs that stress pitching and defense. That's how they got to Omaha.
Keith Osick, the shortstop. Strike at the inside corner. That's a spot that all pitchers would like to establish early and go ahead and find out with the umpires and give the indication to the umpires that they're going to be throwing there, and they'd like for that to be the green light and get the call, isn't it?
See right there, Gus Steiner with the Left arm going up for the strike, and you're exactly right. They like to find out early in the game what the umpire's strike zone is. Everyone's is a little bit different. Gus Steiner, known as more of a pitcher's umpire.
Line drive right up the middle, first base head of the evening for the LSU Tigers. Credit that to Keith Osick, who is down at first base.
Early in the ball game, Gray, like McDonald, has most of his problems. You tend to overthrow a little. You see the breaking ball right there, out over the plate about belt high, and good swing by Osick. Short stride, quick hands, take it right back through the originator.
So down at first base is Osick, and Wes Grisham steps in. Popeye is his nickname. He has a school record in RBIs, leads the team in hitting at 371. Off the handle, could be 2. Quick turn, back over to the short, but first they get it. Trujillo to F.P. Santangelo, back to Hernandez, and Miami erases LSU.
Now we talk
this top half of the inning.
We talk defense, Ron. There it is. Trujillo with the quick, accurate throw. And Santangelo, the double play kind of turns itself. Nice stretch there by Hernandez.
So we head to the bottom half of the first inning as LSU comes up with nothing in the top half. And now let's take a look at the Miami starting lineup, brought to you by Wilson, the official ball of the College World Series. Ron Frazier is the head coach, 10 times the Division I Coach of the Year. Leading off and playing second base is Jose Trujillo. He has been struggling a little bit of late. At the number 2 spot is shortstop F.P. Santangelo. A switch hitter, leads the team in hitting. At the number 3 spot is left fielder Will Vespi. How can anyone with the given name Rocco miss? In the cleanup spot, third baseman Kirk Doolin hit safely 25 of his last 29 games. At the number 5 spot is designated hitter George Fabregas. He's a freshman, started 35 games this year. In center field is John Vieira. He'll bat 6th, had a great College World Series just last year. Henry Hernandez is the first baseman. He'll bat 7th. Ron Frazier says he is simply the best glove that he has had at that position. The catcher is Chris Hirsch. He will bat 8th. Has hit well against quality pitching this season. And in the number 9 spot, right fielder Ray Noriega, hitting .393 in his last 12 games.
And on defense for LSU, it'll be Craig Calla in right field, Ron Lim in center, Matt Gruber's over in left. On the infield, Phil Espinoza at third base, Keith Osick at short. Tookie Johnson is the second baseman, Pete Bush at first. Behind the plate, Mike Bianco. And on the mound, the celebrated Ben McDonald, 6'7", 212 pounds, from Denham Springs, Louisiana. Those are just his numbers this year. What a list of credentials he has already. The 94+ mile-an-hour fastball, good curve. And look at the 35 walks in 140 innings is what's impressive. Had a big part in Team USA winning the gold medal in Seoul last year, along with Andy Bennis and Jim Abbott.
Jim, the other figure on there that you gave that has to catch your eye immediately is almost 190 strikeouts, 186 in 140 innings of work. Jose Trujillo will lead it off, the second baseman for Miami, and immediately we're going to put the judge gun on Mr. McDonald and see what he is hurling tonight.
Just put it on cruise control to kind of get ahead of the hitter. Cool 92.
You asked Skip Berkman today about the breakdown of what he looks for from this youngster. He said, I can tell you right now, at least 70% fastballs is what he will throw. Comes up with the hook in the second pitch, ball strike.
You saw him shake off Bianco. Once again, Skip Berkman will send in all the pitches, but he does give Bianco and McDonald the option to change it. Ben shook that one off. He will throw 70 to 80% fastballs.
0-2 pitch, curveball fouled off to the left side.
The other thing you'll notice with McDonald and Bianco, which can be a danger sign for most young pitchers, but McDonald has impeccable control, is that Bianco will move from one side of the plate to the other. With a power pitcher, you tend to think the catcher will just sit right behind home plate and say, head it for home and see where it ends up.
Big Ben McDonald. 0-2 delivery to Trujillo, just misses on the outside corner. Jimmy pitched in World Series, in big situations. The feeling out there, you feel like your rhythm, it's tough to get it going because of the butterflies?
Well, the tendency in never having to pitch under the pressure of these young kids being on national television at this age.
Ball just high.
But the feeling with a power pitcher is you guard against overthrowing early in the game. You see, once again, like Joe Gray, big hip turn and leg kick, and watch the front foot. Now, this guy's 6'7", but he gets that front leg out there headed right toward the target. Boy, there's scouts all over with their favorite toys. The Jugs gun tracking this guy's fastball, and you can bet there's one from the Baltimore Orioles sitting down there tonight.
Misses inside, and the count goes full. So McDonald had gone in front 0-2 on the lead batter, Jose Trujillo, and now strings it out to 3-2. As we mentioned in the lineup, Trujillo has been struggling a little bit lately. His coach would like to see him break out of that. And on the ground, and a base hit for the lead batter. Jose Trujillo.
That's got to be a little boost for this Miami lineup to start the game. 92-mile-an-hour heater. Trujillo on 3-2 says, pretty good chance I'll get the fastball. And gets the barrel of the bat out there. Hit that ball solidly.
MP Santangelo.
Look at his swing right here. McDonald has had problems in the early innings, falling behind hitters. Gave up 5 runs to Vanderbilt and Auburn earlier in the year.
McDonald will take the bunt. First place is his play. Over to Pete Bush, and down to second goes Trujillo.
Now there's Ron Frazier holding up, hey, 1 out, letting the runner at second base know, and you see that sacrifice bunt early in the game. He knows to take an early lead against Ben McDonald is critical if he wants to win this ball game. This guy gets by the 3rd inning. He doesn't give up much.
And comment has been made. Mail it in if you don't get to him before the 3rd, right? Will Vespi. 321 average, 49 RBIs. On and fouled. I think Gus Steiner got the worst of that. Ron Frazier over at third base, and Jim Pizzolata is at first for the Miami Hurricanes. 1-1 to count, 1 out as we play bottom of the 1st inning. LSU failed to score, top of the 1st. Defense straight away for the Tigers against the left-handed batting Will Vespi. Texas won the opening game of the session today, defeating Long Beach 7-1, the final in that one. Checks Trujillo, big fly, right field, heading back, way back is Cala, and that is out of here for a 2-run home run for Will Vespi.
You know, Ron, there's a player that just got called up by the Yankees. Deion Sanders calls himself Primetime Sanders. Nobody has done better on national television in college baseball than Will Primetime Vespi. Before on ESPN, he has pitched a 9-inning complete game and hit a home run in that game. Good fastball hitter and an early shock for Ben McDonald at LSU.
Here's Ben's reaction after the ball goes out of the park.
Not a very pleasant experience for Ben so far. In less than a full inning of pitching in College World Series competition, 2 home runs, a grand slammer and a 2-runner.
Kirk Doolum, the 3rd baseman for the Miami Hurricanes. Well, you could see the life on the Hurricanes bench. And, of course, the excitement over the home run. But as Jim mentioned, the confidence for the ball club. In the air to right field, it's Cala right in front of the warning track, and he gathers it for the 2nd out of the inning. John Vieira is due. a home run that he hit is the only changeup that McDonald has thrown tonight, according to our stat crew. He falls behind by a score of 2-0 by way of that tripper by Will Vespi. You made the point today, and you were kidding Ron Frazier about prime time, as you call it.
Yeah.
I think Will's not going to care if you call him that at all.
They're jumping up and down back in Haddonfield, New Jersey. I tell you, Will Vespi's been a great performer for Miami the last 3 years, not only at the plate, done a great job pitching, and he seems to have that thing about coming up big on national television.
Fabregas fouls this one off right back up here, coming up quickly.
You know, McDonald's problems in the early inning, though, if you trace the great power pitchers, and we certainly don't want to rush Ben McDonald's fame by any means. He's destined to be an outstanding major leaguer, but you look at the Nolan Ryans and Gooden, even go back as far as Gibson, Bob Feller. They always struggle in the early innings. Always had a phrase in baseball, get them early or you don't get them, and it seems like most of the power pitchers fall into that category.
You know, it was suggested to Nolan Ryan on several occasions, possibly taking a second warm-up to see if that might work.
Most left-hand hitters, good low fastball hitters, and that's right down there, but plenty of pop on it.
2-2 delivery, fouled off again. Here's an interesting list as far as the Hurricanes are concerned. Here are pitchers that Miami has beaten in the College World Series. Clemens, Bobby Thigpen, Swindell, Bruce Ruffin.
All guys that making big dollars in the big leagues. Extremely. Ruffin struggling a little right now, but the other three close to the top of their game.
Right back to McDonald. And that will do it for the Miami Hurricane in the bottom of the first inning, but not before. Will Vespi with a 2-run home run. And the Hurricanes, as we head to the top of the second inning, go on top 2-0. Calla, Groover, and Bianco due up. Calla out of Foster City, California, San Mateo Junior College, leads it off here in the second inning for the Tigers.
Those 2 runs give Joe Gray a little burst of energy right there. He certainly don't expect to take a 2-0 lead to the mound in the second inning against Ben McDonald.
What I was talking about, the lift down there on the bench. Obviously, the enthusiasm over the home run. Off the fist on that one to the right side. Giving chases. Hernandez can't get there. In fact, you see the slide to make sure he doesn't run into the metal standards there on the stands.
That's one of the strengths of the Miami Ball Club. Looking at Henry Hernandez is their infield defense. There's the guy that'll send in the pitches, Brad Kelly, as many of the college coaches do. Hey, then you know if you give up a home run like Ben McDonald, you come in and say, wasn't my fault, Coach, you called it.
Got-you pitchers have always got an angle. 0-2 pitch, just misses outside.
Well, as you know, I've, in our times we've worked together, never been an advocate of that. I understand what the college coaches are trying to do, but I really think you learn responsibility and how to make decisions by doing it yourself.
Strike 3. First strikeout of the ball game for Joe Gray, and there's one down here with the second. Matt Groover. Left fielder for the LSU Tigers. 339 with 49 RBIs and can hit the long ball, as you can see, has 5 home runs this year. To the left side. Doolin over to first, and Hernandez grabs it for the second out. Let's take a look at the West and what has happened in the College World Series. Texas won this afternoon over Long Beach, 7-1. And, of course, this one going on tonight, Miami against LSU. Texas will meet the winner And the loser will take on Long Beach State in the loser's bracket, and that will be on Monday. Mike Bianco. Playing catcher for the LSU Tigers. He's a switch hitter, one of the co-captains of this ball club. Runs extremely well, Jim, for a catcher.
Boy, and catchers hate to hear that when you say, you know, runs extremely well for a catcher. But is a fact that from all the deep knee bends, you say, why don't catchers run better? Well, over a period of time, you see Ben McDonald keeping the wing loose down the right field line. Over a period of time, all the deep knee bends that catchers do behind the plate takes that speed away from them. Early in their career, they do have better than average speed.
Curveball, strike called. Really a tough pitch right there, and he goes to 0-2. You know, that's something we'll have to work on this week. Maybe a better way of saying he runs well for a catcher. Yeah. A better alternative.
He's a catcher that has good speed.
He's a catcher, and regardless of what you think, he runs well.
See Joe Gray with a nice pitching pattern right there. He relies on that sinking fastball, breaking ball, but he went upstairs with the fastball against the left-hand hitter just to kind of show it to him. Chris Hirsch looking in for the sign there.
Those goggles that he wears behind the plate. Breaking ball just missed.
Is that Clint Courtney or Darryl Porter?
Darryl Porter,
catchers
yeah.
that wore glasses underneath that mask.
Always
Scrap
amazed
iron
me.
was the first one.
Yeah. Always amazed me that those things would not fog up to the right side. Trujillo to Hernandez, and 1-2-3. Second inning in a row. Joe Gray puts the LSU Tigers down in order. So we head to the bottom half of the inning. It's the Miami Hurricanes on top, 2-0. Vieira, Hernandez, and Hirsch.
On hand, and a very interested scout looking at that young man is Ray Crone from the Baltimore Orioles. They have tracked Ben McDonald the entire season. And what teams will do, Ron, you see a guy early in the year and his fastball's up in the 90s and his curveball is good, and you want to get a look at him later on this time of the year. Now that's Baseball America's draft projection. Tyler Houston, a fine catcher out of Nevada, Roger Salkeld, Jeffrey Action Jackson out of Chicago. There's another one you can add to there, Earl Cunningham, an outfielder out of South Carolina. It'll be a high school draft. Probably 7 out of the top 10 will be high school players.
Bottom of the second for Miami, John Vieira. Remember, this young man had an outstanding College World Series just last year. Center fielder for the Canes. Because of the length of the first game today, the outfielders, particularly in right and in center, blessed with not confronted with any kind of sunshine today as they were yesterday to a very high and bright sky.
You know, that home run, let's refer back to that home run by Will Vespi, was on a McDonald changeup in the first inning.
And then threw 20 pitches in that first inning. One down in the bottom of the second inning.
Ben McDonald is more than just a power pitcher. He's an outstanding athlete. Played some basketball at LSU. Spent a little time with Mr. Positive Dale Brown, and can field his position well.
You see Pete Bush blowing that bubble as he fielded the ball.
I mentioned that changeup, and the reason a power pitcher struggles with that early in the game. Sometimes you want to say, hey, let's really establish the fastball like Greg Brummett did last night, or let's get command of all of my pitches early in the game.
Henry Hernandez.
But it's the kind of pitch that, as a pitcher, sometimes you tend to second guess yourself. You say, well, why did I throw a changeup in the first inning? You know, first time around the batting order, why didn't I show him my good express?
Curveball to the right side. Fouled off, and he works in front 0-2.
Oh, Brad Kelly does it for Miami, and the headman, Skip Bertman. Now he's flashing into Mike Bianco, the sign and the location. Scientific baseball.
On the game we just saw prior to this one, Dave Snow calls all the pitches from the bench.
But you check with a lot of the college coaches that have had professional experience and understand that the professional game and the college game are two different games, but the Jerry Kindles and the Larry Koshels, they leave it in the hands of the catcher. So is Gene Stevenson.
Swung on swing and missed for the first strikeout of the ball game for Ben McDonald.
Yeah, the first inning jitters kind of out of the way. Big Ben loosening up a little, and here comes a 96-mile-an-hour blazer. You could see how late Henry Hernandez was on that fastball. Got to pull the trigger in a hurry against this guy.
Chris Hirsch, the catcher, out of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. The signs coming in, or you could see Skip Berkman on the right. One of the things very noteworthy of this youngster is that his coach said he has hit quality pitching very well this year, that he has not been in awe of the big throwers.
He'll get a chance right here, I'll tell you that.
Let's see if the marquee is right. Just misses inside. If we're bottom of the second inning, Ron Franklin along with Jim Cott. This is game 4 in the second day of the College World Series, and the Miami Hurricanes have jumped out early off the strength of a 2-run homer by Will Vespi in the first. Well, Jim, what's amazing about that pitch, it almost looked like he came off that a little bit, and it still is a 92-mile-an-hour ball.
Yeah, he kind of cruised that in, 92. I mean, he's just got such a, as baseball people would say, a live arm.
Strike 3, second strikeout of the inning for Ben McDonald. And possibly those first inning jitters are over as we head to the third. 2-0, the Miami Hurricanes on top of the LSU Tigers. We'll be right back.
I think that competing in athletics at Pitt taught me a number of things, how to be a leader, how to work with others, become strong.
He's out of Atlanta, Georgia, in an interesting situation on this third baseman, Jim, is the fact he has a transfer from New Orleans. And for people to say, wait a minute, you can't do that in football and basketball. You can in the sport of baseball if you get a letter from the coach of the school from which he leaves. And that was his case.
He did that. He got a release from the coach and the athletic director at UNO and got a chance to transfer and be a part of Skip Berkman's program at LSU. Had some problems in the field, but he's done a good job at the plate.
Boy, had a great regional, 381, 8 for 21.
I think he's been in the weight room, too. Look at those biceps.
Well, we mentioned off the top of the telecast tonight for Joe Gray with the spotlight on McDonald tonight. And a lot of pressure was off him, and he could just do his thing. And I think you're seeing as we head into the top of the third inning, Joe Gray does his thing as well as a lot of people, or not many folks, do it any better than he does. I guess is the point I'm making. Curveball just outside.
See, he's finding out right now from home plate umpire Gus Steiner that Gus is not going to give him that borderline slider just off the outside edge. He threw 2 in a row there.
On the ground to the right side, Hernandez. He says, I'll take it myself, but there's one down at the top of the third.
And not hard to track Joe Gray's success as a pitcher. Hey, there's always a popular guy here at the College World Series, but Joe Gray's success as a pitcher, you look in the box score, how many ground ball outs? Okay, he's retired 7 batters tonight, 6 have been by way of the ground ball.
Ron Lim, the center fielder, number 8 hitter in the LSU lineup. Not a long ball hitter, good speed, 25 RBIs. Hometown Jacksonville, Florida. In fact, came out of Florida Community College. As we said, he doesn't hit for a lot of power. As you look at the defensive set, shaded to left is the center fielder Vieira, but not playing very deep.
You really see how And John Vieira can go get him in center field. They always, another old baseball adage is strong up the middle. You look at Chris Hirsch behind the plate, Santangelo and Trujillo second and short, and then Vieira in center. You've got great defense through the middle of the field here for the Hurricanes.
Count goes to 1-2 on Lim. Then the starter for the Tigers for a majority of the season out in center field.
Boy, isn't it amazing, in these first 3 games of the College World Series, all the losing pitchers, that's their first loss of the year. John Thoden for North Carolina, Mark Swope for Arkansas, and now today Andy Krogan loses his first game of the year to Texas.
That's right. And all the home teams have won, the higher seeds. Back to Gray. Over to Hernandez, 2 down.
Well, like we've said, all the attention has been toward Ben McDonald and the power pitcher, but Joe Gray can get it done at about 90 pitches when he's working like he is tonight. Doesn't take hitters into a lot of deep counts. Has 186 strikeouts on the year like McDonald, yet you don't think of him as a strikeout pitcher.
Pete Bush, the big first baseman for LSU, the number 9 hitter in the order, was talking with David Hall, who's on the baseball committee and the head baseball coach down at Rice today. And he was expressing the sentiment of a lot of coaches who have come up here to see the College World Series. They are very pleased that pitching and defense is what this one is predicated on. Long throw from the shortstop, Santangelo, and that will do it. So LSU has gone at the top of the 3rd. And as we head to the bottom half of the inning, the Miami Hurricanes still leading 2-0. Noriega, Trujillo, and Santangelo due up. Leading the LSU Tigers, and a big day in auto racing. Formula One tomorrow in Phoenix, 4:30 Eastern Time. That one is live. And in fact, when we were out there just a couple of weeks ago, I guess it's 3 weeks ago now, in Tempe, they were setting up a lot of the concrete standards through downtown for that Grand Prix. Estimates of over 300,000 people in attendance for that one tomorrow.
Featuring a little speed out there, just like we are here.
That's right. Ray Noriega, the number 9 hitter for the Hurricanes, leads it off in the 3rd. Noriega is one who has been wheeling a hot bat of late. 393 in his last 12 games, and as Jim said, he can go get him out in center field. Very fine defensive player. Right side, Tookie Johnson to push for the first out.
Boy, tough little hop right there. You know, we talked about the defensive strengths of the teams. When Ben McDonald pitches, it's mostly strikeouts and pop-ups, and actually the infield for LSU has not been effective this year. Good play right there by Tookie Johnson. And over at third, Espinoza has 17 errors. Osick has 33, and that man, the second baseman, has 12. Kind of a high number, but they don't get a chance for a lot of ground balls with this guy on the mound.
Jose Trujillo back to the top of the order for the Kings. Led off the ball game with a single right up the middle.
Like Skip Bertman, who calls the pitches, is saying, let me mix in a few more breaking balls to make sure Ben McDonald doesn't get guilty of overthrowing the ball.
Count goes to 2-1. Since McDonald gave up the 2-run homer to Will Vespi in the first, fly ball, ground out, 2 strikeouts, and another ground out.
You're talking about the coaches sending in the pitches. You know, the interesting thing of it is, yes, the game is different on the college level than it is on the pro level. These guys are not necessarily developing players for professional ball. They're trying to win games. When you get to the big leagues, when Ben McDonald gets to the big leagues, they're going to say, hey, use the KISS theory. Keep it simple, stupid. Throw what you want to. Get ahead of hitters.
2-2 pitch on the right side, just beyond Bush. It goes foul. As a for instance, split finger is not allowed to throw.
Well, he's not thrown any. Skip Bertman's done a good job. He has never worked with less than 4 days rest. He's never thrown more than 127 pitches in one outing all year. So His arm is sound. He has not overused him or abused him like a lot of college coaches are accused of doing.
2-2 pitch, just misses outside, and it goes full.
See him smack his glove right there. See, that's a pitch that Ben McDonald, as well as Joe Gray, from some of the umpires at the College World Series, would be getting a called strike.
Only the second time he's gone to a full count, and the last time was against Trujillo. Fair ball. Espinosa with a long throw, and he is safe. So Trujillo with his second base hit of the ball game.
Now we know we're seeing an unusual game already from Ben McDonald. He's given up a home run, and that's the 4th ground ball. As we've said, this guy has struggled all year defensively, Phil Espinosa. Trujillo with a head-first slide. Good sign of hustle, but in reality, you really get to first base quicker by running through the bag. The only time to slide is when the throw is inside and you slide to avoid the tag.
Mr. Santangelo, FP. Big fly, right field. Calla heading back. Will the park hold it? It is out of here. Home run for the Miami Hurricanes and FP Santangelo. And the Canes are on top 4-0.
Is this unbelievable or not? Berkman can't believe it. He's staring down saying, I better change the pattern of pitches I'm calling. A 2-run shot for Santangelo. Hey, everybody's going to be getting one of those bolt haircuts, the wild thing on that Miami team.
That's his 3rd home run of the year. Take another look at the pitch as Will Vespi steps up. He had a home run back in the 1st.
See that open stance. Watch him loft that ball. Ron Frazier says he's guilty of that during the year, trying to do it too often, trying to become a power hitter, but here's one time it pays off and just out of the reach of Craig Calla, the right fielder.
2nd home run of the ball game for the Miami Hurricanes. Won by Vespi, who is at the plate right now, and FP Santangelo with his 3rd tripper of the year.
See just a little loss of rhythm right now, which is understandable. Here comes Ben McDonald into this ball game with all the hype. Gives up the 2 2-run homers. This is an important hitter for him right here. Kind of regroup.
Tookie Johnson over to Bush for the 2nd out of the inning. And Miami is doing just what Jim Cott talked about off the top of the telecast tonight, and that was against a power pitcher such as Ben McDonald. And that is, if you're going to get to him, you better get something done in the first 3 innings. And that's exactly what the Canes have done.
Hey, and it's not by accident. I don't know what's going on inside that guy's heart and mind, but Ron Frazier has had this team here 8 times this decade. There is some way that he gets this ball club prepared to perform in these situations.
Dillon, the 3rd baseman, flied out to right field his first trip. Ball, base hit down the left side. Espinosa went diving, couldn't get to it. Dillon rounds first, and he will hold up there with a 2-out single.
I'll give you a little idea, hitters, that just raw speed, as well as pitchers, raw speed is not necessarily the answer. All of these fastballs are 90-plus miles per hour, but Dillon, if you know the fastball is coming and you got quick hands, you can hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. Dillon proved it right there. Pulled that ball with authority.
Designated hitter George Fabregas grounded out to the first baseman in the 2nd.
We have seen this so often, Ron, in recent years. You know, the draft is right around the time of the College World Series, and guys want to perform so well around draft time. And we've seen a lot of indications. Oklahoma State came in here a few years ago with Dennis Livingston and John Farrell, highly touted pitchers. Didn't perform as well.
Fly ball to straightaway center field. Lim, 5 steps back, underneath, and 3 gone. Here in the third. The Miami Hurricanes come up with 2 more runs on 3 hits. And as we head to the fourth, it's Miami 4 and LSU nothing. Due up Johnson, Osick, and Grisham. And take one more look at the celebration following that home run by Santangelo.
Nature's light, nourishing golden fields of barley, as only nature can, ensures the clean, fresh taste that makes Bud Light the one light that outshines them all.
You've just discovered your car has a clear coat finish, which your ordinary wax just ruined. New Simonized non-abrasive wax won't scratch today's clear coat finishes, and that'll save you a lot of grief.
It's ever so tough being ranked #1 and not being ranked. Playing the game without getting gamey. What assists me is Right Guard Sports Stick from Gillette with its maximum protection.
Omaha, Nebraska, Miami. Boy, they're shining right now, 4-0. 4 on 5 hits, and for LSU, no runs on 1 hit. Joe Gray, 8 groundouts so far in the ball game, and his coaches tell us that if he gets 13 or better, somewhere in the range of 13, 15, 16 groundouts, he usually wins his ball game.
He's well on his way already. Out of these first 9, he's got 8 of them. Eddie Stanky, when he managed the Chicago White Sox years ago, used to give the guys buy them a new suit. Joe Horland, Gary Peters, Tommy John, if they got like 15 out of the 27 outs on ground balls, and those guys could do it too. Had that great sinking fastball, similar to Joe Gray. Nice to have a sinking fastball with some velocity on it, like he does.
Johnson grounded out pitcher to first in the first inning. Tries to hold up, and Gus Steiner says strike in the outside corner. Count goes to 1-2. Hirsch had that foul ball go off his leg right there, and he dances around for a moment. Tookie Johnson, the top of the order. Second baseman for the LSU Tigers. His club down 4-0. Would like to see something get started as the fastball rides high. The middle. Second base hit of the ball game, and the first since back in the first inning. And the man who is coming to the plate right now, Keith Osick, is the man who has the other base hit for the LSU Tigers.
And both base hits on what you call a hanging breaking ball. Now, any curveball that's around the thighs is a hanging breaking ball or a high breaking ball. See where Hirsch sets up and watch where this pitch ends up. He doesn't quite get down, although that was down and out there pretty well. But both hits off Gray have been off the breaking ball. All of his ground ball outs have been off that good sinking fastball. Tells you something about establishing the fastball.
Miami got 2 in the first and 2 in the third, both on the home runs. LSU trying to start a rally of their own. That pitch goes off the fist, and he pitches in front to 0-2. Gresham is next, the designated hitter.
know, Joe Gray will pitch down primarily, but right here, Chris Hirsch with the up and in location. You see him reach his glove up there. Every now and then, you got to keep those hitters honest as a sinker ball pitcher and run that fastball upstairs on. Joe Gray will do that a lot when he's going for a strikeout, when he's looking for a strikeout, too, on that high fastball.
Down at first base, Tookie Johnson. 0-2 pitch to Osick. Swung on and missed. Second strikeout of the ball game for Joe Gray.
Hey, Joe Gray is saying, hey, scouts and media, Ben McDonald's not the only pitcher in the ballpark tonight. I can deal a little bit, too. That baby's up there 91 miles an hour with some movement.
You bet.
And up in the strike zone.
And late movement, which we talked a lot about last night. You could see it really came in on the hands of the batter. Second strikeout for him, Wes Grisham. Has hit into a double play in the first to end things for the Tigers.
Well, they got some good weight rooms around college campuses, don't they? Look at the cannons on this guy.
Well, LSU probably has as many amenities as you can offer a college athlete, and I'm sure he has taken advantage of it, but looking at the body on him.
Joe Gray going to a little more of his power fastball this inning. All the ground ball outs. Now he's second time through the batting order. He's saying, hey, let me go upstairs a couple times and show him I got a little velocity as well as sink on that ball.
Tookie Johnson at first base. One out, top of the fourth inning. Miami leading 4-0.
It's got a little touch of that bolt on the left temple there, that Wild Thing haircut.
Ron Frazier proving that, of course, when you've been at a school as long as he has and dealing with kids, that you change with the times. But I thought it was extremely interesting that he allowed them to put one on him. But he wears glasses, and the part that goes over his ear helps cover that up. You can't really tell it's there. It's a strikeout of Grisham for the second out of the inning.
Third strikeout of the game. He's given up the base hits on the breaking ball. Now that looked like the spiked curveball. Joe Gray will throw a spiked or a knuckle curveball. Here's a little shot of that spiked haircut to go along with the curveball. Hey, whatever works, Frazier does a great job at getting his players in the right frame of mind to perform under this kind of pressure. Skip Bertman made an interesting comment. When you look at all 8 teams that are here, they're all geared toward defense and pitching. The power hitting teams like Mississippi State, Texas A&M, they do well during the season, but they don't get to Omaha as often.
Breaking ball just misses outside. That's what I was alluding to a while ago with the comment about David Hall, saying that the coaches are really, this is the kind of series that they would like to see.
Mike Martin will attest to that. Years ago, he had power hitting teams in Tallahassee. Didn't get here as often. Now he's got great pitching and defense.
Ray throws a burner there. Hallows behind it on the swing and a miss, and the count goes to 1-2. 2 out, top of the fourth inning. Miami 4-0. Skip Bertman and the Tigers looking on.
A little concern on those faces, and there should be.
Tookie Johnson is the red dot at first base. Got on with a lead single, swung on and missed, and for Joe Gray, he retires the side by strikeouts. That is strikeout number 4 for him. Coming up for the Canes, they lead it 4-0. Vieira, Hernandez, and Hirsch.
Last week, us Fritos rustlers came upon a whole new breed, ranch Fritos. They looked real wild, but they was actually sort of mild. Shoot, one even let Luke pet it. These wild and mild ranch Fritos have a creamy ranch flavor. No Fritos rustler can resist. But keep that under your hat, partner. New wild and mild ranch flavor Fritos corn chips. Rustle up some.
There's a tempting myth in business today. It's the siren song. Long-distance companies luring you with promises of huge savings over AT&T. But it's just a myth. Based on a 1-minute call, the average business call lasts far longer, making AT&T prices extremely competitive. So don't be seduced by myths. They're never what they seem. AT&T, call us. Find out how competitive our prices really are.
Canes on top, 4-0. Bottom of the 4th inning coming up.
Well, you know, Ron, oftentimes we'll talk about the fastball, the 4-seam fastball or the 2-seam fastball that pitchers have. The 4-seamer tends to make the ball ride, but now that one, the 2-seamer, Ben McDonald will throw that occasionally, and that's what Joe Gray gets all those ground ball outs on. The 2-seamer, you see the 2 seams right there, you get a lot of rotation, a lot of sinking action on it. Now there's the 4-seamer. You teach infielders, outfielders, catchers to throw the ball like that. It won't sink or move laterally. It'll just tend to ride a little bit and be more of a true fastball. That's the 4-seamer.
Leads me to a question I asked you just before we did the stand-up tonight. People talk about a rising fastball. Does the ball really rise, or just because it maintains a true course, it looks like it rises?
Yeah, I don't think it really rises. I think it has just a little bit of zip there at the end where instead of sinking, the ball rides or stays high in the strike zone.
John Vieira, born in New York City, makes his home in Miami, Florida. The numbers on McDonald, you just got him there, Jim.
Well, he's already thrown 49 pitches. We're getting into the 4th inning. It's going to cut down his chances of pitching a complete game. Good fastball. And I would think if the game stays like this, 4-0, Skip Bertman will have a little decision to make about the 6th inning, because he might want to say, hey, it looks like I'm going to the loser's bracket. I might want to take Ben out a little early and be able to bring him back in a game next week.
1-1 pitch inside corner for strike 2 called. Vieira had a tough time in the East Regional. Only 2 of 16. Scored a couple of runs, hit 125. A couple of RBIs, did have a home run. On a career, though, has 38 doubles. Curve, ball, strike called. 76 miles an hour on that one. He fooled him completely.
Now, here's the curveball that's getting Ben McDonald all the raves, and the reason you might want to make him a #1 draft pick. Look at the bottom fall out of that baby. Just freezes the hitter. Now, here's the grip. It's a spiked curveball or a knuckle curve. He kicks it with that finger that's kind of cocked up on the seam of the ball. A lot of guys refer to it as a knuckle curve or a spiked curve.
Henry Hernandez, the first baseman. He was a strikeout victim in the 2nd. Skip Bertman made the comment this morning that sometimes when the youngster comes to the park, though, the curve is not there for him.
True with all power pitchers. And it's also true that if you don't have good command of the curveball, Nolan Ryan, a great example, track his big league career. The no-hitters that he pitches in the great games are the nights when he has that crackling curveball to go with the blazer. If you're a good hitter and you know a pitcher's, here comes a fastball, you're going to hit it no matter how fast it is.
It's that old thing, if you keep serving it up enough, folks learn what's on the menu. 1-2 the count, 1 out, bottom of the 4th. Miami 4-0. Canes have 5 base hits in the ball game. LSU no runs on 2 hits. Hernandez sends it high in the air. Center fielder Ron Lynn.
He can't see it.
He cannot get. Yes, he can. Long run for Lim.
Well, who cares if you can't see it as long as you can catch it?
Well, twilight here in Omaha, and he held his arms outstretched as if to say, hey, I'm here. I'm not going to move a step. And then you could see he had to come flying in to make the grab.
A good recovery right there is where he's having trouble picking up the ball. Boy, speed, is it important to an outfielder? And Ron Lim proves it right there. Recovers and makes the catch.
Catcher Chris Hirsch struck out in the 2nd. Curveball misses away. And he puts on a different pair of glasses
to bat with, doesn't he? Well, those are the same ones he's wearing underneath. Can't tell if those are the goggles or not because of the earpiece coming over.
This is what it would look like to hit against Ben McDonald at 6'7". Big, high leg kick. And there's that overhand spike curveball. You know, I mentioned a while ago, and I didn't mean it as a derogatory comment, we talked about when you get to the big leagues, and it's amazing how many kids that come out of college programs will tell you the same thing. I get to the big leagues, and I've had all this scientific training. We got all the signs and the trick plays and everything in college, and I get to the big leagues, and they say, the old KISS theory. You know, here it is. Keep it simple. Go at them. Use your ability. And try to make it more difficult than what it is, because the ability level is so even when you get to the major leagues.
.2-mile-an-hour pitch got out of here in a hurry on the right side as it was fouled off by Hirsch.
A lot of the hits in college baseball, coaches will say, can be attributed to the aluminum bat, but you know what you're seeing in the big leagues now as well, is a lot of hitters are dropping down to a 30 and 31 ounce bat, even though it's a wood bat, much lighter bat like the college kids are swinging.
McDonald faced 5 in the first inning, gave up a couple of runs on that Will Vespi 2-run homer. 3 batters in the second, 6 in the third, and a 2-run homer to F.B. Santangelo. On the ground, Keith Osick going to have to hurry. Cross to Bush, and for the second inning of 4, McDonald puts Miami down in order. So let's take a break. We head to the 5th. It is the Hurricanes leading 4-0. ESPN's presentation of the 1989 NCAA College World Series from Omaha is brought to you by Audi. Conform to the road, not the rules. Audi, the alternate route. And by Cooper Tools, the difference between work and workmanship.
Well, there's some workmanship going on out in the mound tonight for Joe Gray.
Youngster has only given up a couple of hits in the ballgame to the LSU Tigers, and right now on top 4-0. As the Tigers will send to the mound or to the plate this inning, Groover, Bianco, and Phil Espinoza. The fist, that's going to drop for a base hit. Matt Groover, the left fielder, just as his teammate Tookie Johnson did in the 4th, leads things off with a strikeout, or with a base hit, and then 3 straight strikeouts on the part of Gray in that last inning. See if LSU can get something going here.
Those ground ball outs. This is when they're important to Joe Gray. Groover did a good job of fighting that fastball off, and Gray comes back with a high curveball. Here's where that sinking fastball is important to it.
Down too low. Mike Bianco, he's a senior. You can tell not real tall. Iron Mike's what they call him. He's 5'9", 185, out of Seminole, Florida. Played at Indian River Community College. The reason he's called Iron Mike is he caught in all 68 of LSU's games. 65 of those, he was the starter. And Gray now falls behind 3-1. And Bianco has a mate down at first as Groover is let off this inning with a single.
And Joe Gray's strength so far, Ron, is he's been getting strike one on 10 of the 15 hitters he's faced up till now.
Inside ball 4. The Tiger fans coming alive in Omaha. The 4th was the first time of the ballgame that Gray has not retired LSU in order. And now the Tigers come up putting the first two base runners on, and it's Phil Espinosa, the third baseman. Checks the runners. Pitch, strike called.
Good guy for Skip Bertman to have at the plate right now, Espinosa, because he's one of his hitters that does a good job of taking the ball the other way, which you want to do against Joe Gray. You don't want to get caught trying to pull that sinking fastball.
Strike two call. Espinosa, the third baseman, has pitched 11 innings this year. In fact, has a save against George Washington.
People might say, why wouldn't you want to try to pull that sinking fastball? Well, what happens? You try to pull it, you get it out on the end of the bat. It usually ends up a ground ball to second or short.
0-2 pitch to the right side, base hit. They're going to bring the runner. Gruber, now they're going to hold him up as the throw goes home, and LSU has the bases loaded here in the fifth.
Was the most unbelievable swing on an 0-2 pitch. Watch Espinosa just inside outs that ball. He's already looking to right field. He had his mind made up. I'm going to take that ball the other way. That ball was in on his hands, and if he hadn't made up his mind to try to go the other way, I doubt he would have ended up with a base hit. Good piece of two-strike hitting.
Tigers trying to roar a little bit here in Omaha. They're down 4-0. Top of the fifth inning. They have a couple of hits. Couple that up with a walk to Mike Bianco, and the bases are filled, and Ron Lim, the center fielder. On the ground to the second baseman. Trujillo starts the double play, elects not to go to the shortstop. Santangelo will get one, and the run scores. And it's a 4-1 ball game as Gruber comes across.
Santangelo, you see where he's playing. He's shading Lim over toward left field. He's got a long ways to go. Lim pulls his ball toward Trujillo, and Santangelo can't get to the bag quickly enough. So Trujillo alertly takes the sure out with Lim's speed. I doubt they would have doubled him up anyway.
Bianco, number 5, who got on by way of the walk, is over at third. And down at first is Lim in the fielder's choice. Espinosa is the man who was erased, who had the base hit just a moment ago. The number 9 hitter, first baseman Pete Bush, grounded out short to first in the third. Looking down at Smoke Laval, getting his signals, the third base coach. 4-1 as the Tigers on the board as they finally cracked in to Joe Gray, who up until this point has not been very easy to penetrate.
Those calls right there are sent in from the bench also. All the pickoff moves sent in by Brad Kelly. But in this situation, kind of a dangerous thing to do. Not much good can happen out of that. Skip Bertman not apt to try to steal bases with Bush at the plate and the hole open. Throw it away! See, and you hear in the background right there, throw it away. That's exactly what can happen. A 4-1 lead. Your main concern is that guy standing in the batter's box.
Is 0-1. Pete Bush, Gray to the plate, wanted to go for it, held up.
I think we're still perfect on our stat there. After a pitcher throws to first base a couple times, the next pitch to the hitter is invariably out of the strike zone.
A lot of purple and gold pom-poms down the first baseline. 1-1 to count on Bush. There's a couple of mates on first and second. Trujillo starts the double play. Santangelo back over to first to Hernandez. And wait a minute. They are saying down at second base, either interference has been called, but the play is still on. And Ron Lim heads on over to third.
He called him off the bag at second base.
And now here comes Ron Frazier.
Umpire Dale Williams, the crew chief here at Omaha, says Santangelo was off the bag. I mean, they call that play about once every 10 years at second base.
Meanwhile, Jim Bianco scored from third base. And with the call of not being on the bag, the count goes to 4-2 Miami.
See, Trujillo will make the pick and the throw right here. Now watch Santangelo. See, and Dale Williams. Santangelo coming to the right field side, and Dale Williams' eyes says, no, you didn't touch the bag. Little closer shot at it. Now, I don't know. Let's see. Did he catch the bag? I mean, most of the time, that's called the old neighborhood play. If the ball's in the neighborhood of the bag and it beats the runner, you're out. Very, very unusual call. Now, I got to give him a double play on that. I mean, you got to really be flagrant with missing second base in a play like that. But, hey, Dale Williams is the crew chief. He's about 10 feet away from it, and he said, no, you got to touch that bag.
But, Jim, in baseball, there's no error on the play. You have to call it fielder's choice, don't you?
Fielder's choice scored 4-6-3 on the putout. And LSU will pick up another run, and they'll end up with runners at the corners and 2 out. A little test right here for Joe Gray. Dale Williams is trying to explain it to Ron Frazier. A little test for Joe Gray to maintain his composure.
I think they'll just have the one runner. I think Lim at third because they got Bush down at first. Did they not?
Oh, and the runner that was called safe at second continued on at third.
Lim
right.
is down at third. Right. So there'll be the one base runner, who is Lim, over at third. Discussion has ended as far as the umpires are concerned, and Ron Frazier as he goes back to the dugout. 4-2 our score. Here's the runner at third, Ron Lim, and he just continued toward third base.
I guess in the NBA they'd call that kind of a chippy call or a touch call, and that's what it is in baseball.
Top of the order, Tookie Johnson looks at a strike ball. Miami came cruising into the setting, the 5th, leading 4-0. And now Tookie Johnson represents the 6th batter of the inning. Johnson singled in the 4th.
Take another look at what we thought was an ending double play. Trujillo's flipped to Santangelo. Now here's what Dale Williams saw. I see what he saw. Santangelo's back leg did not scrape across the bag, but instead kicked out toward right field.
We blew that up electronically so that you could get a better look at it. And as you can see, he was not real close to the bag, so no neighborhood call.
Well, he's close to it. You watch big league ball, you'll see him miss it by a lot more than that sometimes. It still is a rather touchy call, but an accurate call by Dale Williams.
1-2 the count. 2 out, top of the 5th. 2-run ball game. Off the 5th to the right side. Hernandez on the run, and he makes the grab. Great job by Henry Hernandez to make the count. For LSU, they're gone to the 5th, but not before the Tigers come up with a couple of runs on 2 base hits. And as we go to the bottom half of the inning, it's Miami 4 and LSU 2. One more look at Henry Hernandez and his effort to end the 5th for the Tigers. We'll be right back. John Franklin and Jim Cott from Omaha, Nebraska. Sports Center coming up immediately following our ball game. 4-2 our count right now. Bottom of the 5th inning. As LSU came up with a couple of runs in the top of the 5th. And you just got a clarification on the official scoring. They did give an error, didn't they?
They gave an error to F.P. Santangelo for not tagging second base. You know, normally you can't anticipate a double play. But the out was there, and he did not tag second base, so he's charged with an error. No RBI on the play. And then the end of that scoring is the putout is 6-3 on Pete Bush.
Ray Noriega swings and misses. Count goes even at 1. Ben McDonald, 6'7". Gus Steiner walks away from there. I
It's like that fastball might have got a little piece of Gus Steiner right
must
there.
have.
Ben saying what was the call? He still did not see whether Steiner called it ball or strike.
That's what we were waiting on. And Ben looks back out at the scoreboard, and the scoreboard shows a 2-1 count. Noriega, Trujillo, and Santangelo due in the bottom of the 5th for the Canes. Miami, the number 3 seed, and LSU, the number 6 seed. Earlier today, Texas won their ball game over Long Beach, 7-1, the final there.
Saw the miles per hour on that pitch before this fastball. What Skip Bertman is doing, he calls it the BP. So he's mixing in some of those.
Noriega swings and misses. Strikeout number 4 for Ben McDonald. They're McDonald's parents. He had a good visit with Ben and his father today, didn't he?
Certainly did. Fine people and a fine young man right here. Just ties Derek Lilliquist of the University of Georgia for the all-time SEC strikeout in all strikeouts in one season, 190. Lilliquist up with the Atlanta Braves right now.
Jose Trujillo. He has been the thorn in the side of the LSU Tigers, and Ben McDonald tonight. 2 for 2 in this one. Got to set the tone in the first inning, didn't he?
Yeah, Trujillo's done a good job of taking McDonald into some deep counts. You see a little guy like this, small strike zone. He knows when McDonald gets behind him, he's going to get a fastball to hit, and he's got a fairly quick bat.
And as we mentioned off the top of the telecast of the lineups, it is Trujillo who has been struggling a little of late, but not tonight.
Hey, the maniac.
Got some good help, huh? I'd love to see if that shot was in focus. It was not. 2-1 pitch, outside corner, and it goes even at 2.
In Trujillo's previous at-bats, he took McDonald to a 3-2 count in both of them. Got a base hit in both, an infield hit in one and a line shot the first time up, so it's paid off, the patience.
Strike 3 called, as Trujillo thought the ball just missed on the outside. Strikeout number 5 for McDonald.
And now he is officially the SEC strikeout king for one season. Not only good velocity, but good command. Watch where this baby, right on the outside corner. And Gus Steiner rings him up.
Interesting observation by Jim, but he's exactly right. The only 2 times that McDonald has gone full count on anybody tonight has both been against Trujillo and then the base hits. But that time he does not go full and winds up sending him back to the bench with a strikeout. Frank Paul Santangelo. FP is what he prefers to be called.
See, now he got that 2-run homer. He still says, hey, I'm going to keep lifting that McDonald fastball. That's not really his game. Santangelo just has 3 home runs on the year. His game is hitting the ball on the ground and making contact. See him try to lift that on that swing.
Santangelo lays down the bunt. Gonna have to hurry. Bianco with the throw, and they get him. 3 up, 3 down in the bottom of the 5th for the Miami Hurricanes, as Bianco bounces out cat-like behind the plate to nail Santangelo. And we are done in the 5th. Our score as Osick, Grisham, and Caladu up 4-2. Miami on top. And one more look at the play. LSU, we head to the top of the 6th inning. And an interested young fellow down to the top step of the dugout for the Hurricanes as he sits down right there.
Yeah, and if Miami hangs on to win this game, boy, what an advantage for Ron Frazier to send that man. You see the 1-loss record in the ERA, but in 140 innings, only 33 walks and 169 strikeouts. That's more impressive than McDonald.
His only loss this year is to the Texas Longhorns. And should Miami win this ball game, that would be the next opponent. In fact, one of the teammates from Miami said tonight, the Longhorns are the guys that he wants most. Keith Osick, base hit in the first, struck out in the fourth. An hour. You heard the pop of the mitt right then. And Chris Hirsch from Gray.
I think there's a few scouts in the stands tonight that are going to be favorably impressed. They saw Joe Gray last year, and he was not as high a draft pick as he thought he would be. But I think a lot of guys, typical in baseball, you know, they say, well, he doesn't throw hard enough. When you get to the big leagues, and the guys that win are the guys in the mid-'80s with a little good control and in and out movement.
Vieira in center field has this one sized up. One down in the sixth.
Kind of funny how things go in cycles. That unusual error that Santangelo made by not tagging second base on what would have been an inning-ending double play. He's made 12 errors this year, and 10 of them when Joe Gray's pitching. Of course, he gets a lot more action when Gray pitches because of the sinking fastball.
Ron Franklin, along with Jim Cott at Rosenblatt Stadium in Omaha, Nebraska. We welcome you in on this Saturday evening. Hope you're enjoying tonight's ball game. The Miami Hurricane leading LSU 4-2. Top of the sixth inning. In a capacity house on this Saturday evening in Omaha. An absolutely gorgeous evening. Temperature dropping into the low 70s, maybe the upper 60s tonight. Fouled off to the left side by Grisham.
You know, we've talked about the great pitching here at the College World Series this year and good defense, and there has been some, but you believe tonight's game, I mean, we've already scored twice. We have twice as many runs in this game in the fifth inning that we thought we'd have by the end of the night. Everyone figured 2-1, 1-0, no 4-2 in the sixth inning.
Gray with the 0-2 pitch rides high. That's quite true. Postcards from a Miami fan that he's sending back home about the fun he's having up here. I'll tell you what else you wouldn't have believed, Jim, and that is also 2 home runs by Miami in the first 3 innings of the ball game against Ben McDonald.
Well, that's something that has plagued him. The last 4 starts, he's given up 6 home runs, and once again, the problems in the early innings.
Tigers with 4 hits, Hurricanes with 5. This is down low with that 92-mile-an-hour fastball. Grisham makes his home, Norman, Oklahoma, Seminole Junior College on him. First team all Southeastern Conference. We'll get a good look at Joe Gray. 2-2 offering, swung on and missed. Gray rings up his 5th strikeout of the ball game, and there are 2 gone in the 6th.
Big difference between that breaking ball coming in about thigh high and down around the ankles. Watch how far Osick, or rather Grisham, has to move, have to reach for that ball. Can't catch up with the breaking ball, can't reach it.
Right fielder Craig Calla struck out in the 2nd, struck out in the 4th. But also a very fast worker. He likes to get right back up there, get the baseball, and come back home with it. 1-1 delivery.
Yeah, Joe Gray a little disgusted with himself right there, but no wasted effort or motion. As you see the turn, that was a changeup. You can see it come out of his hand, almost like a palm ball. Hasn't thrown many of them tonight.
LSU Tigers came up with a couple of runs to cut into that 4-0 lead on Miami in the 5th. In the air on the right side. The catcher, Hirsch, is there for the third out. Fly ball, strikeout, and then a pop-out to the catcher, and LSU is gone to the 6th inning. Let's take a break. 4-2, the Canes on top. Vespi, Doolin, and Fabregas are due.
Throw, Ron, you have to have command of all of your pitches. Now, Ben's had pretty good command of that fastball, 74% in the strike zone. Not as good with the curve, and the one change was a strike. But maybe he wished it wouldn't have been a strike, because this is what happened to it right here with Will Vespi at the plate in the first inning and 1 on. Wacko, 2-0 Hurricanes.
Vespi leads it off in the bottom of usual to his middle finger.
Anytime Ben McDonald has an off game like tonight, right away everybody, well, there's something wrong with him. Isn't he throwing as hard? Does he have a bad arm? Hey, the guy's human. He gives up runs. But early in the year, the middle finger on his right hand, he's had like a strained tendon from throwing the fastball. The finger swelled up on him.
Base hit up the middle by Will Vespi. He's 2 for 3 on the night. I think those stories lingered a little bit, though, and maybe the severity of it. The stories...
Yeah, he'd come in at the end of an inning and soak that finger in ice to get the swelling down, but that's completely history now. There's nothing physically wrong with Ben McDonald. And you saw by the radar gun tonight that there's certainly nothing wrong with the velocity on the fastball.
Kirk Doolin, the third baseman, had a solid base hit back in the third, flied out to right field in his first attempt in the first inning. Breaking ball, grounded foul.
You know, if I were the Atlanta Braves, I might be chuckling a little bit right now, saying, hey, maybe a night like tonight would discourage Baltimore from making him their #1 pick. Maybe they think something's wrong, and Atlanta will jump in and pick. I'd tell you, I'd take him. I don't care if he gives up 8 runs.
Good look at Will Vespi over at first. Talked a lot about their superstitions tonight, but it's a very superstitious ball club. Pitch out, runner is going, and they got him. Will Vespi, 6 feet away, had to look at the ball in the glove of Keith Osick, who tagged him out of the caught stealing.
Frazier's looking over at Jim Pizzolatto, the first base coach. I don't know whether Vespi missed a sign. See, he doesn't have a very good lead. Now, let's see whether he looks in. He doesn't look in at the hitter, so it's not a hit and run. And he's got 19 stolen bases on the year. McDonald does a good job there of holding Vespi and giving Bianco. See him unload almost with the slide step, and Bianco, not a strong arm, but quick release and accurate. They've got him easy.
Nice throw by Bianco. Off the fist, coming hard is Lamb, and he'll get there. Youngster's got wings on his feet. Misjudged that fly ball back in the third. Came running in strong and made the catch to end the inning. And he gets Doolin on the pop. George Fabregas, the designated hitter, grounded out in the first, and then the fly ball in the third. To Miami. Canes with 6 hits on the board, and for LSU, 2 runs and 4 hits. Jim, I think the coaches at the College World Series had rather that free agent draft be the following Monday after this whole thing is over, don't you?
No question, or before it. But hey, it's something they learn to deal with. I'll tell you what's helped Ben McDonald as well as Jim Abbott and Andy Bennis last year, as we look at the good overhand yacker. Watch the down action on this ball. Looks like it's about shoulder high and ends up down below the belt. He's dealing with the media during the Olympic experience. Didn't go, said Ron Graham. You know, during that Olympic experience, traveling all over the world, no matter whether they had good days or bad days, these guys confronted with the media all over. And Ben McDonald has learned to deal with that. Take a game like tonight. If it stays like this, he gives up two-run homers. He'll be right there to answer any question you've got for him.
1-2 pitch, fouls it off. Just been handed the attendance, Jim, and the people in Omaha. An all-time high tonight, 17,407 in attendance.
And the young man that gave up the two-run homers, I think, has a little bearing on that all-time high attendance. A lot of publicity around this great pitching matchup, watching college baseball's player of the year.
1-2 pitch, swung on and missed. 6th strikeout of the ball game for McDonald as Fabregas is out in the 6th, and so are the Hurricanes. We go to the 7th, 4-2. Our score remains 2 up. Gruber, Bianco, and Espinoza. We'll be right back. One more look at that strikeout.
MVP honors, appearing in 5 games, including shutting down Roger Clemens of the Texas Longhorns. He helped move Ron Frazier's Canes into the finals against Wichita State. With the score tied at 3, Phil Lane came to the plate.
I'll see you later, mother. Miami moves out in front as Lane comes through.
Miami's career home run leader hit the game winner, and the Canes won the title 9-3.
1982 seems like yesterday. Our score tonight, Miami on top, 4-2. 8th trip of this decade for the Hurricanes. And Matt Gruber, the lead hitter here in the 7th inning, is greeted with a strike.
Probably recognize the familiar voice of Jim Simpson calling that home run.
The record crowd on hand tonight, the 17,407. Nothing like the atmosphere of a college championship. Final Four is the same way. Line shot into left field. Vespi had him played perfectly. Vespi only had to take a couple of steps in. That ball was really well hit.
We showed you the command of the fastball that Ben McDonald had, and lack of command really of the curveball. But now look at this guy. He's got better command of his breaking ball as far as throwing it for strikes. Once again, not many changeups. Both of these guys relying on the fastball and most of the time above 90 miles an hour and sharp breaking ball.
Mike Bianco, who had the nice pitch out and throw down to second in the last inning, steps in. Grounded out in the second, he walked in the 5th. And also scored the 2nd run of the game for the Tigers.
That's been Gray's strength right there as you watch Bianco's foul ball. Strike 1 on so many hitters. More than 2/3 of the hitters. And when you do that, we've mentioned it before, the stats say you get strike 1, you get 80% of them out. And people that follow baseball on a casual basis might say, well, why is that? Well, when you get strike 1, you expand the strike zone. You get hitters to chase those borderline pitches a little more often instead of wait for the hitter's pitch.
0-2 pitch, just misses.
See Hirsch taking a long look in at Brad Kelly.
Sets up outside, and the pitch comes inside. I don't know if he's decoying there or...
Now he went with the changeup. Gray just has not had good command of the changeup. He'll look in right now, and you can look for this to either be a fastball up and in or a fastball low. It looks like inside.
Corner, and Mike Bianco is a strikeout victim. That's 6 for Gray. Phil Espinoza grounded out to the first baseman. That was back in the 3rd inning and got on a fielder's choice in the 5th. To right field, Ray Noriega under it for the 3rd out. So for the LSU Tigers, they go quietly in the 7th. 3 up, 3 down. Canes coming to bat, still leading by 2. And the batters that we'll see, Vieira, Hernandez, and Hirsch. Hurricanes continue that lead of 4-2. I'd like to remind you that tomorrow night in the winner's bracket, Keller against Cedeno, a couple of 12-game winners, 8:30 Eastern Time. Florida State, the #1 seed in the tournament, taking on Wichita State. And then an elimination game earlier in the day, Arkansas and North Carolina. That one can be seen at tape delay at 3 a.m. Eastern Time. It is Sunday night, but actually early Monday morning.
Sounds like it to me. I'll tell you, talk about Clyde Keller. There's a lot of good two-position players in college baseball. He's one of them. John Olerud, he would have been a top draft pick, the first baseman pitcher out of Washington State. Pete Young at Mississippi State, good third baseman and relief pitcher. And then Clyde Keller plays second base for the Seminoles when he's not pitching.
0-1 pitch to Vieira, behind on that one.
Now you see why they say get Ben McDonald earlier. You don't get him after that 2-run homer. He stuck 3 zeros up on the board, and it seems like he just gets a little better command of his pitches each inning.
Jim, and in fact, after that inning, he has retired the Canes in order in regulation. Hernandez is on deck. Velocity index on Ben McDonald through 6.
There's that 93 gusting to 95, and then he got a little more speed on it in the second, but he's been consistent. That shows you arm strength. When you maintain that fastball, that's what the radar gun can show you, a young man's arm strength, and he's got it.
Two pitches for Ben McDonald so far. 0-2 delivery to Vieira. Wanted to go. They're going to ask for the appeal. No. Out of the zone for a ball.
92, and right now he wishes he would have only thrown 90. There's 2 he'd like to have back.
For sure. First inning, Will Vespi with Trujillo on board. And then F.P. Santangelo in the third, again with Trujillo on board.
That's where sometimes you see the miles per hour and that ball hit out in front of the plate. Get a little irregular reading every now and then on that overhand breaking ball. Most of the time his curveball is in the 75 to 78 mile an hour range.
Two the count, nobody out. Bottom of the second inning. 7th. Goes full.
Good discipline right there. That's where McDonald gets a lot of his strikeouts. Vieira laid off that high fastball. It's kind of typical tonight so far of a Ron Frazier ball game for Miami, heading toward a victory, at least at this stage of the game. You look for them to do it with stolen bases. They walk more than most teams. They steal more bases than any team here except Wichita State. And how do they get the lead tonight? 2 2-run homers. The Wizard.
11 times the Division I Coach of the Year. 3-2 offering. Shot. That one's going to go foul. Jim, and talking about McDonald, Skip Bertman mentioned today about all the contact with the youngster and also his parents. And it's when you're looking at a #1 draft choice, you got to know everything about it. How long has Major League Baseball been that involved as far as the individual and his surroundings?
They always have been. It's just tougher for them nowadays because there are so many more players for the scout to get to know a young man's family and his personality.
Line shot, base hit for Vieira. So the Canes open up the 7th with a base hit.
Well, he ripped that good 3-2 fastball foul. Now McDonald takes just a little bit off that pitch, and look, he comes off both feet. And as most left-hand hitters likes that ball down and in, that's where that one was.
7th base hit of the ball game for the Canes.
Look for a little hit and run or sacrifice action here by Frazier, trying to build that lead.
Henry Hernandez, the first baseman.
Vieira taking a big lead over there at first base. Now, Frazier can go one of two ways. He can use Hernandez to try to advance Vieira with a sacrifice bunt. Vieira with 22 out of 27 attempts stolen bases with that big lead. I give him the green light.
Gets away from the first baseman, Bush. Vieira headed down to second. They're still tracking that ball. He'll go to third. It's all the way down in the corner. Calla picks it up. And Vieira is at third base with nobody out.
Well, like Woody Hayes used to say about the forward pass, you know, 3 things happen, 2 of them are bad. It's the same thing with a throw to first base. It's a balk, it's a wild throw, or a pickoff. In that case, it's a wild throw. Bush can't get it. Scored an error on McDonald. And Vieira quickly heads for second. He'll make it into third easily. So a miscue by McDonald gives the Canes a chance to build that lead.
Bianco had to get up on a step ladder.
That was a little grudge fastball right there. I mean, Ben's a little disturbed with that pickoff throw, and he let the shaft out all the way on that one.
I think the look on Skip Bertman's face said everything in that shot just a moment ago, but he kind of rolled his eyes toward the stars on the error. Vieira moving around to third. 4-2 our score, bottom of the 7th. Miami leading LSU. This game 4 of the College World Series.
Kind of surprised right here, even with nobody out in the 7th inning. Skip Bertman has his infield back. He's actually going to give up the run on a ground ball to second or short. See right there, second base, Chucky Johnson and Keith Osick at short are playing deep with nobody out. I think right now you'd want your defense, your infield in to cut off. Even with nobody out, you've got to cut off that run at third. Give your team a chance to win this ball game.
Runner at third is Vieira. Swung on and missed. Had a good rip at it, but Henry did not have the bat head there in time.
Of course, if you can throw a fastball like this a couple times, the infielders can sit down no matter where they play. See, that's the one they say, does the ball actually rise? No, it doesn't rise, but it stays right up there. It has what appears to the hitter like a little hop to it right at the end.
Because of the straight line, it gets there in a hurry. 2-2 the count. Nobody out. Vieira at third. Strikeout number 7 for McDonald. 1 down, and it brings up Hirsch, the catcher.
Another 90-plus fastball, and Hernandez just swings right through it. I mean, this is a hittable pitch from a normal pitcher. Inside part of the plate, left-hand hitter Hernandez likes it there. Can't make any contact. How did I miss that ball? He says, hey, it's easy. About 193 guys have missed it this year.
1 out, and Hirsch to the plate with Vieira at third, and Skip Bertman quickly out of the dugout and out talking not just with McDonald, but situation with his entire infield.
Yeah, I think now you'll see him bring the infield in, and I think he's alerting everybody, hey, be alive for the squeeze play. That's more Miami's game than the 2-run homer. So I would think he would have his infield in this situation.
Ron Franklin along with Jim Cott at the College World Series, Omaha, Nebraska. Bottom of the 7th inning, 1 down. Miami 4, LSU 2. Runner at third is John Vieira. Got on with a base hit and then a throwing error by the pitcher McDonald. got him over to third as he went all the way down the right field line. See if Miami tries to play some games here. Sets up on the outside. Fastball misses.
Yeah, there's very few times that a pitcher tries for a strikeout. You know, most of the time you get your strikeouts just based on your natural stuff like Ray and McDonald have done. But here is one time where I think Ben McDonald will consciously try to strike out Chris Hirsch, either that sharp curve outside or the high fastball. Which with Vieira's speed, anything on the ground, the Hurricanes have a good chance to score. I would think Ron Frazier would have on what you call the contact play. He's going to tell John Vieira, if he makes contact with the ball, Hirsch, and it's on the ground, you go. Take a chance at getting thrown out.
2-1 pitch off the fist, and it will drop for the base hit. Vieira trots in from third, and the Miami Hurricanes push it to a 3-1 lead, 5-2. Hirsch is the man we told you earlier that his head coach said has hit quality pitching very well, and he demonstrates it here.
Good job right here. Doesn't try to pull the fastball. Can't pull this fastball. Just fights it off and hits it the other way.
Ray Noriega, the right fielder for the Hurricanes, grounded out and struck out.
And here's when Frazier tries to jump on you. You know, just about the time you kind of take a little deep breath because they got a base hit. Hirsch, as you said, has pretty good speed for a catcher. He'll run it.
Noriega with the bunt. It's a dandy. Gonna just roll foul. Well, Skip Bertman knows the tendencies of anybody does of Ron Frazier because he coached down there for 8 years. And of course, he played at Miami also. They've known each other for a long time. And a great conversation today before Skip came up for the meeting. They both have daughters. And Skip said what Frazier was talking about, the trials and tribulations of raising daughters. 0-1 pitch to Noriega. Squares to bunt again.
Mentioned Skip played at Miami and coached there. They retired his number at Miami, not because of the career he had as a player, but rather as a coach.
Five to 2, Miami leads. They have picked up one here in the bottom of the 7th after getting 2 in the 1st and 2 in the 3rd. Noriega lays down the bunt. McDonald will take it as the runner advances. Second baseman covering, and there is one out.
Kind of an unusual play right here by Frazier, bunting Noriega. Now here's your second baseman, Tookie Johnson. He knows as soon as that ball's laid down, his responsibility is get to first base because the first baseman, Pete Bush, is charging to field that ball. McDonald ended up fielding it. Not very often you use a left-hand hitter with one out to sacrifice the runner to get to a righty.
Jose Trujillo.
That's the reason why he did it right there. You see, Trujillo's had good success tonight against McDonald.
2 men out, bottom of the 7th. Hernandez struck out, and then the sacrifice by Noriega just now. $17,407 coming out at Rosenblatt Stadium this evening to see this day 2, the 4th game. Yesterday, Florida State, the top seed, won their game as they defeated North Carolina. Pitch just misses outside. Wichita State won in the night game. This afternoon in Game 3, Texas defeated Long Beach State. And this is the fourth game. It is Miami 5-2 for the LSU Tigers. Elimination starts tomorrow. Good pitch in the inside corner. Field. Calla, couple of steps back, and he gathers it for the final out. The Miami Hurricanes, on a couple of hits, score 1 run, and a couple of errors helped out along the way. It's Miami 5 and LSU 2. Thanks, Bill. 5-2, Miami leading LSU. And Joe Gray, good look at him right there. The billing tonight, Ben McDonald, the 6'7" right-hander of LSU. But this gentleman very quietly has gone his way. Probably a very good example of how this can happen. 1965 World Series. The big left-hander sitting next to me here against Sandy Koufax. Sandy got the billing, and Mr. Cott got the win, Game 2 of that World Series.
Now, oftentimes, you know, it has a way of relaxing you coming into the game. All the pressure's on the other guy.
Ron Lim, the center fielder.
And I think what Joe Gray has done such a good job of tonight, you've got to block out pitching against Ben McDonald. You're pitching against the LSU lineup and trying to stay with your strength. Don't get in a fastball throwing contest with him, even though Gray's got a good one. You know, that can be a big temptation these days for college kids because they know there's 15 scouts sitting behind there with their radar guns pointed at them. Big temptation to try to air it out.
Pitch high and away. Good look at Joe Gray's dad. Lim swings and fouls, and the count goes to 1-2. When, in essence, Jim Cott, one of the things that would impress the scouts as much as anything, added to the performance, is the poise that they might see.
Yeah, he's a senior. He's pitched here before. They've seen him for a few years, and he's been so consistent.
Speaking of consistency, let's take a look at the velocity index. That's the 7th strikeout of the game for him.
Now look at Joe Gray. He's blown that thing up there about 93 on occasion, but a steady high 80s, 90. I'll guarantee you there's some scouts that are surprised tonight in the stands. You tend to look at him as an 86, 87 guy with sinking action, but not that kind of power.
Joe was born in West Palm Beach, Florida. Palm Beach Gardens, his home now. Trujillo to Henry Hernandez, and 2 gone in the 8th for the Tigers.
You know, don't you know they got to be happy down there at Palm Beach Community College, even though there are 2 different coaches. If Gray holds this lead, they will have 2 winning pitchers in the College World Series come out of their program. Gar Finville got the win for Florida State, went there, and that's where Joe Gray pitched in his early college years.
Mickey Johnson, top of the order, got his base hit in the 4th. Grounded out and also flied out. Tookie, a sophomore, 5'10", out of Elmer, New Jersey. Ground. Hernandez says, "I'll take it myself." And the Tigers, 1, 2, 3. This is the 3rd straight inning that Gray has put them down in order. Take a break. Miami leading by 3. Miami Hurricanes leading bottom of the 8th inning. Santangelo, Vespi, and Kirk Doolin due up for the Canes. Santangelo has 1 base hit on the night, and it's a huge one. It's the one that pushed this ball game to a 4-0 mark. Trujillo was on first with a single, as McDonald almost lets that one get away.
Skip Bertman liked to get him through this inning with a minimum number of pitches. He's thrown 114 going into this inning. And like we said, he has not thrown more than 127 in inning outing this year.
Skip told us this morning in our meeting that the thing that bothered him most about Miami was the experience and what he expected would be composure of the entire team because of the number of times that Miami has been to Omaha, 8 times in this decade.
And the ability of the left-hand hitters to hit the fastball. Santangelo and Vespi is there. Santangelo's home run, though, you look at those guns on him and you know he's got home run power, but that's his first home run since back on March 21st.
To the lead batter, F.P. Santangelo.
Came out of a good junior college program, Sacramento City College. Good Miami connection there on Jerry Weinstein. I think is coaching in the pro ranks right now on the minor league level. Was an assistant at Miami. See a lot of Division I players sprinkled around that have come out of that Sac City program.
3-2 pitch.
First walk of the game for him, Ron. He sure is. As we've said, one of the strengths of Ben McDonald is not just the blazing fastball, but the outstanding control.
Will Vespi, first inning home run, with Trujillo aboard, put the Canes on top 2-0.
Frazier has a choice here with Santangelo at first. Big hole open for Vespi. And the choice would be, you can send Santangelo, try to let him steal a base. He's got 32 on the year. Then you use Vespi to pull the ball and get him to third with 1 out, try to manufacture an extra run. Or you can just let him sit there and say, okay, Vespi can pull the fastball. Let's give him a shot at that hole. We end up with first and third.
Goes even at 1. Nobody out. Santangelo at first. Got there by way of a walk. Time called momentarily as Steiner behind the plate was looking at something down the left field line. Couldn't tell exactly what. Snap throw back over to first. Well, the pressure that has been on McDonald is probably more than any of us will understand as far as the amateur draft coming up. And people expect so very much from him. And if he doesn't throw a 2 or 3 hitter every time he goes out, they're disappointed, thinking he has not had a good outing.
I think anybody that's watched him tonight has got to be impressed, even with his advanced billing. He's been equal to that. And anybody's going to give up. I don't think there's been any pitcher that's pitched this game yet that's gone through his career without giving up any home runs. I think my total's up there about 300 or 400, so I wouldn't feel bad about that.
Pitch grounded off McDonald's hand. Loose behind the mound. Throws to first. Didn't get it. McDonald shows some great athletic ability. Now I want to see if that ball went off his pitching hand. It looked as though it might have.
Well, you want to see what kind of an athlete Ben McDonald is at 6'7". Played a little basketball. Uses that 6'7" right here, but got the bare hand in the way. Had the presence to chase it down, and look at that throw on the run. I mean, he almost got it. Bang, bang play at first base. One of those plays where they say, yeah, keep your bare hand out of it, but your reflexes say, no, I want to grab the ball. Well, watch the quickness and the agility, and Vespi just beats the throw. Of course, they're concerned right now. They want to see whether Ben McDonald can grip that ball.
Good job by Bush also going across the bag to save it.
You know, we talked about the draft and why don't teams commit? You know, and that's one reason why teams wait to the last minute. They want to make sure nothing happens to a pitcher or a player as far as an injury, especially if it were to be a career-threatening injury. And happy right now for Ben McDonald that does not appear to be any kind of an injury. This probably stings a little bit for right now. Got it on the fingertips.
Santangelo at second. That's Vespi at first. Nobody out, bottom of the 8th. 5-2. Miami leads. Kirk Doolittle, third baseman. Gino DeMari has come in to run for Vespi at first.
Now these bunt situations, 2 on, nobody out. Skip Bertman's going to put a couple of pickoff plays on just to keep Santangelo close to second base. Be interesting to see whether Frazier elects to bunt with his cleanup hitter at the plate.
The ground to the left side, just foul. Espinosa coming over to step on the bag to get the force.
Watch how the catcher right here, Mike Bianco, watch him give the, see the glove down. That means Ben McDonald turn and throw. It's a timing play. Mike Bianco is looking at the shortstop as soon as he sees him a few feet from the bag, and that's kind of traditional. That's even how most of the big league clubs will do it. You'll get that sign from the catcher on a timing play like that.
1-1 the count to Doolittle. Squares around a bunt. Fake throw by Bianco back down to second. And Santangelo gets back in a hurry. Now, DeMari, born in South Miami, Florida. Hometown is Miami also. First-year player. Was in high school last year. Now with 9 base hits in the ballgame. 5-9 and 1 the line on them, and for LSU 2-4 and 1.
Now Kirk Doolittle got the bunt sign, and that pitch was right there. Perfect pitch to bunt, but he just froze him. That's 129th pitch, which is an all-time high this year for Ben McDonald. That's not a lot of pitches. I mean, a guy of his strength and that young, he's capable of getting up there 150.
Count is full. Curveball in the air to left field. Matt Groover coming in a hurry, and he will make the grab for the first out of the inning. Runners will hold. On DeMari, the runner over at first, has a brother who is a wide receiver for Florida State.
Yeah, one thing late in the game when you're getting into that area where Ben McDonald has reached his all-time high total for pitches, you can hang that breaking ball and sometimes get away with it. You see that baby up about the letters oftentimes on that one. You're rubbing up a new one. And Doolittle said, man, I should have hit that ball out of here.
You know, Jim was looking back at the scoreboard. At my scorebook here, that's the first fly ball to Gruber out there in left field. Tosar, the pinch hitter, for George Fabregas. Miami up by 3. Runners at first and second. Santangelo at second. DeMari down at first. Misses with the curveball.
Pretty noticeable, those last couple of breaking balls. That's usually the first sign of fatigue. And I would think Skip has got to go with the old dead red right here. Get back to the blazer and see if you can get out of this inning.
To 2-0. of putting the third Hurricane on base with only one out.
And there's the guy, Paul Byrd, the freshman, that I think Skip Bertman will go to. Probably right now. I don't think he's going to extend Ben McDonald too much more. He could pitch count-wise because 6'7", 212 pounds, but you can almost tell by the way he's lost command of his pitches right now, the high breaking ball. And remember, it's double elimination. He still wants to be able to come back with McDonald in Game 3 if he wins in the losers bracket game.
Yeah. 5-3, Miami leading in the conference right now. But the base is filled at third is Santangelo. He's just run down to second base to visit with Damari. 5-2, I beg your pardon. Leading by 3. And Mike Tosar, the second-year sophomore, has just walked. He is down at first. Skip Bertman says going to leave him in the ball game.
I know it's tempting for Skip right now. He doesn't want to extend Ben McDonald too much more, but he's got to be saying, hey, it is 5-2. If I can get out of this inning, I still give my team a chance to win. I'd like to squeeze another out of the big right-hander, another couple of outs. It's most all-time high. Yep.
Most he's thrown, 134. John Vieira, the batter, with the bases filled, had a base hit his last time up. That was in the 7th. Santangelo at third. Damari down at second. And Mike Tosar, who was a pinch hitter just a moment ago, and walked, is at first.
And remember how Vieira ripped McDonald's fastball the last time up. He's quick. Now, we were talking about that pitch count. That's something really that's come into baseball maybe in the last decade or so. There's so much importance put on how many pitches you throw. You know, it used to be if you're getting them out, you stay out there and you keep throwing. Nobody kept that close track of pitches. The thing you look for is what's the evidence in McDonald this inning. He begins to lose command of those pitches.
Take a look at what his velocity is. Got that one off the fist and moves in front of the count. 1-2.
I think that one was out of sight. That's fast.
Encouragement coming from the stands. You could hear the one fan, or maybe it was a player, saying, come on, punch him out, get the strikeout. One down.
Coming out of that Miami dugout.
No, that's for sure. One out with the bases loaded for the Miami Hurricanes. 1-2 pitch to Vieira. Swung on and missed. Number 8 in the strikeout list for McDonald.
Well, he got around in the fastball the last time up, just to show you the quality pitcher Ben McDonald is. Reaching the bottom of the tank. Still got that baby up to 94 for the strikeout.
Henry Hernandez, the first baseman, struck out a couple of times and flied out to center. Looks at a curveball just out of the zone. I think it would do the youngster a world of good mentally if he could pitch his way out of this situation right here. To center field. Ron Lynn making the call, and that will do it for Miami in the 8th inning. So we head to the 9th. The last chance for the LSU Tigers. They're down by 3. We'll see Osick, Grisham, and Calla.
Car and Driver magazine said shut a door and you'll hear a solid thunk. They also said you won't find a buzz or a rattle. Now, doesn't that sound like your kind of car? The 1990 Geo Prism. Geo. And here's a special Geo Prism offer. 2.9% GMAC financing or $400 cash back. And if Geo's your first new car, you can get $600 toward your down payment with GMAC financing at select Chevrolet dealers now. Plan
Last week, us Fritos rustlers came upon a whole new breed. Ranch Fritos. They looked real wild, but they was actually sort of mild. Shoot, one even let Luke pet it. These wild and mild Ranch Fritos have a creamy ranch flavor. No Fritos.
Top of the order, the number 2 batter, I should say.
And one thing Ron Frazier looks for, unlike Gene Stevenson from Wichita State, he brought Jim Newland in last night, one of the great relief pitchers in college baseball, to save the game. Miami gets their wins by complete games out of this guy, and Alex Fernandez.
Hit to center, Vieira on his horse, can't get there. Base hit to lead it off here in the 9th inning for Keith Osick.
Bullpen has 11 saves on the year.
Well, the big sticks are coming up as far as LSU is concerned. Gresham hit into a double play in the first and then has struck out a couple of times, once in the 4th and once in the 6th. LSU down by 3 and trying to get an uprising here in their last opportunity at the top of the 9th.
Elliott Ciancini. Frazier would use him to come in against lefties or righties.
Have gone on. Down to the dugout for the Bengal Tigers.
Ben's leading the cheers out there.
You bet he is. They know about 3-run leads in Baton Rouge. And about losing 3-run leads, so they know it is possible in the late innings for it to happen.
You talked in the open about what they had to do just to get here, win a couple games at College Station. Down at Texas A&M, which not only win 2 games down there, but in front of a hostile crowd. That's one thing that the players at the College World Series enjoy, is a crowd that really is appreciative of both teams. You get in some of the regionals and those where the host is a team like Texas A&M, you got to play in front of some hostile crowds.
Count goes full at 3-2. Then McDonald gave up a 2-run homer in the first, gave up another 2-run homer in the 3rd, then a single run in the 7th. That's how we stand at 5-2. Miami over LSU. Top of the 9th inning, nobody out. Pitch way outside for ball 4. And the first 2 Tigers are on.
Now that is the first sign that we have seen from Joe Gray of a little bit of a lack of poise and aiming the ball. I shouldn't say lack of poise maybe, but lack of... Watch how far he misses the strike zone and hangs onto it so long. That's what ball players would say, I'm aiming the ball. Didn't really let that ball go. Watch how tentative the motion is here compared to what it was earlier in the game. He almost hops back, had a little whiplash on that pitch as if he was hoping it would get in the strike zone. Not the same Joe Gray we've seen in the first 8 innings.
Five to 2 the score. Nobody out, top of the 9th, and the LSU Tigers with a single and now a walk.
Mentioned the Miami bullpen has only 11 saves. Elliott Ciancini has no saves this year. Just pitched in 15 innings of relief. Oscar Munoz is the save leader with 5. He's a hard-throwing right-hander.
So as we look at the runners down in second, Keith Osick. Wes Grisham is the runner at first. It's Kelly ending his conversation with his pitcher, Joe Gray. The LSU fans here in Omaha making a lot of noise as Craig Calla looks at the ball just outside the zone, and it's 1-0. Ground to the right side, could be two. Trujillo to Santangelo, back over to Hernandez for the double play. Osick goes to third.
Now he got to the ninth inning by throwing ground ball outs, and watch Trujillo gets down in the ball. Now Santangelo takes a little extra time and says, yes, I'm going to make sure I touch second base. Hey, is Joe Gray excited about it? Yeah.
2 down, top of the ninth. Matt Gruber. 1 for 3 on the evening.
Throwing right now, you see on both those pitches. So eager to polish off the game, and you have a tendency just to overthrow it a little bit, not stay in that groove you've been in the entire game.
Red dot represents Osick at third.
Runners at the corners. Nail-biting time here, Jim, is runners at the corners, and Mike Bianco, the catcher, comes up representing the tying run in the game, but the Canes on top 5-2.
And he's got 7 home runs on the year. He's got some home run pop.
Is inside. The one thing Gray has been doing in this inning that Jim commented on earlier he had not been doing, and he's been getting in front of the hitters, not here in the ninth.
That's the best pitch he threw of the inning right there. He's been feeling for strikes. You can see him stare in at Gus Steiner saying, hey, I want to strike. Stay in the same groove he has been in the entire ball game. Easy to say, hard to do.
Foul ball off to the left side, out of play, and the count goes to 1-2. So let's reset it for you. 2 men out. Osick is the runner at third. Down at first is Gruber. Gray trying to propel his team into the winner's bracket in this first game for the Miami Hurricanes. The number 3 seed in the College World Series. LSU, the number 6 seed. Strike 3 called, and that will do it. As Gray being mobbed by his teammates on his 8th strikeout of the evening.
You know, that's as much emotion as I've ever seen Joe Gray show in the 4 or 5 times that I've watched him pitch. And I think the setting here at Omaha, the College World Series, the disappointment of last year's draft, all was evident in those expressions when he came off the mound winning this ball game. What a great performance. And not too shabby by Ben McDonald.
2 gentlemen that know each other well and a lot of respect for one another. Skip Berkman on the left, on Frazier, and the reaction to the winning pitcher tonight, Joe Gray. 5-2, Miami wins. We'll wrap it up in just a moment. Are in the winner's bracket and our players of the game. In this game number 4, the Frito players of the game, Ben McDonald for the LSU Tigers, and for Joe Gray, his 15th win of the year, and it is Miami winning by 3. Coming up next at SportsCenter with Bill Patrick and Tom Mees as you take one more look at the line score. SportsCenter is next. Tomorrow we'll be back here at 8:30 Eastern Time for a game between Florida State and Wichita State. Joe Gray going the distance tonight and was simply magnificent for the Hurricanes. And you think he's not excited on that 15th win of the year. He knows his ball club is in very good shape right now. It was a tough night for Ben McDonald.
A lot of hype on this one, but a couple of two-run homers, one in the first, one in the third, did the damage. Ron Frazier and Skip Bertman. Our final again, 5-2 Miami.